Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. I hope you're all feeling good. We got some boxing to talk about. Mainly the fact that Fabio Wardley has decided to activate the rematch clause against Daniel Dubois. He's going for it. Now, before I get onto your questions and comments, I want to give you my immediate reaction to this news while it's still fresh in my mind. You often hear people, including myself, talk about the damage that these fighters take in contests like Fabio Wardley just had against Dubois, and therefore the need for them to not only take a very long break afterwards, many months, but also the need to change their style to improve the defense, and if they're unable to do that, get out of boxing before the damage they accumulate is irreparable. Now, some fans might not really understand how bad the damage is in boxing. And so I saw a video the other day of Frazer Clarke, and I wanted to get a screenshot of the video before I started this live stream. Somehow I can't find the video again. It was actually a YouTube short, I think, which might have been removed now. Maybe it was uploaded by somebody that didn't have the copyright for it. But it was a clip from an interview with Frazer Clarke. And Clarke was talking about the aftermath of the damage he took in the first Wardley fight. Not the second Wardley fight where he got a hole in the side of his head, but the first Wardley fight. He said that in the days and weeks after the fight, he was urinating and defecating blood. Okay? He also said that blood was coming out of his ears for several days after the fight. And he said when he eventually returned to the gym, I think a few weeks after that contest, just to do some light training, hit the bag and stuff like that, when he tried to hit the bag, he felt nauseous. It's like his body was telling him, nope, don't have anything to do with boxing. It was associating the act of throwing punches with the damage that it took. So the body was just completely rejecting any notion of throwing punches because that comes with taking punches, so on and so forth. That is how damaging this sport is. Obviously, there are far worse injuries you can pick up in boxing, but even a fight where ostensibly nobody sustained any serious damage, there were no, blood clots in the brain or anything like that, thankfully, people still pick up all sorts of issues, right? Again, urinating and defecating, blood. I mean, I remember when I was an amateur, there was a couple of occasions, one where I was sparring a guy and it was a very heated spar. It was a bit of a, slugfest. And after that spar, I went to wash my face and I was kind of seeing double, and I reached down to try and turn the tap on. And I kept missing the tap. I missed the tap about 2 or 3 times. I had to stop myself and say, okay, focus. Then I was able to actually touch the tap and, turn it on. There was another occasion where I had a headache after a really, tough battle for about 2 or 3 days after the fight, and my jaw was aching for best part of a week. And that's just in amateur boxing. These pros who are going, long in fights, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds, and they're wearing those tiny little hard fight gloves, which are very different to amateur gloves. And they're heavyweights, especially, the kind of damage they're doing to each other. You really have to appreciate how severe it is. Okay, Fabio Wardley took a terrible beating in that Daniel Dubois fight. Despite early success, scoring the knockdowns, he took a terrible beating. And his body is not going to recover from that in a few weeks. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Timothy Bradley, for example, another individual who's spoken about the aftermath of being in a really tough fight. After his fight with Ruslan Provodnikov, he said he was suffering neurological issues for months after that fight. Months. Right? So some people might think that people like me are going overboard when we say that Fabio Wardley needs 6 months or 8 months rest. Oh no, we're not going overboard. All right? When you understand how damaging this sport can be. So, now, with regards to Wardley deciding to make the decision to take the rematch, first of all, it's no surprise to most of us, given the type of character that Fabio Wardley is. And I don't just mean the fact that he's brave, also the fact that he wouldn't have gotten to where he is now by listening to doubters. If he'd listened to doubters, he'd still be working as a recruitment consultant, even now. No amateur background. How's a guy working as a recruitment consultant, involving himself in white collar bouts, going to become heavyweight champion, starting boxing in his 20s as an adult? Very few people, if any, would have believed in him. But he believed in himself. And that self-belief was constantly validated through every step of his journey by the results that he was getting. So when the likes of myself and some of you guys were picking against him time and time again, he learned not to listen to the likes of us. So, and he understands, of course, that if he had listened to us, he wouldn't have got to where he got to, right? Heavyweight champion. He's probably a millionaire now, right? I'm assuming he made 7 figures for the Dubois fight. Maybe something close to that for the Parker fight. He's probably a millionaire now. So, yeah, he's not going to listen when people say, oh, don't take the rematch, it's too dangerous. He's going to trust his own judgment far more than he trusts ours. So I get it. Be that as it may, I'm still going to express my concerns. Because at the end of the day, as much as I've picked against Fabio Wardley time and time again and been proven wrong, he did eventually lose. I just thought it would happen much earlier on in his career. By the time he fought Daniel Dubois, as I said in my pre-fight videos, even though everything in my boxing brain was telling me that Dubois should win the fight, because Fabio Wardley's proved me wrong so many times, I was afraid to pick against him. I was like, man, this guy really doesn't have the fundamentals. He's so raw. He's so novice-y. His footwork, the way he throws his shots. I really want to pick against him. But again, he's proven me wrong so many times. I thought Joseph Parker would beat him comfortably. Somehow he stops Parker. So, yeah, Fabio Wardley was starting to look like the anomaly of all anomalies. Somebody with no amateur background who looked like he had no amateur background in terms of the way he fights, but was still getting results against guys that did have an amateur background at the highest level. So I kind of got spooked for a bit there, but now that he has lost to Daniel Dubois, he lost because of that lack of amateur pedigree, without any shadow of a doubt. There is a response in many or most or all living creatures called fight or flight. It's an instinctive response to danger. Human beings have it too. When confronted with danger, a person instinctively will decide to either stand their ground and fight back, depending on the situation. They may choose to stand their ground and fight back, or run away, fight or flight. Fabio Wardley, evidently, unlike most fighters with no amateur background being thrown in there against top professionals, unlike most of them, he has a very strong fight response rather than flight. Because I can assure you, most guys with Wardley's kind of background, they've got a much stronger flight response in the situations he's been in. But no, he's got a very, very strong fight response. And again, that is why myself and most of you are not surprised he's taking his rematch. That's the kind of person he is. He's had a lot of success holding his ground and fighting back. But a problem with fight or flight and being in that kind of instinctive, animalistic mode is that when you come up against people that are calm in the moment, that have the experience in the moment to make decisions which are the most logical based on their boxing brain, and you're just going off pure instinct and aggression, they're going to use your aggression against you. And that is exactly what Daniel Dubois did to Fabio Wardley. Yeah, Wardley came out fast with the overhand right and all that kind of stuff. He's an athletic guy. But once Dubois got a measure of the speed and brought his jab into play, he just stuck to basic, fundamental boxing, and he picked Fabio Wardley apart just with the basics. He wasn't doing anything fancy. He just noticed when Wardley was telegraphing the right hand, just jab him to his chest, just jab his shoulder, jab his face. You knock him right off balance, he'll miss by a mile. Basic boxing. Now, I was having a discussion actually right before this live stream, and there was somebody in my Element group, or a couple of guys in my Element group, who were debating whether or not Fabio Wardley has poor stamina. And my take on it is Fabio Wardley does not have poor stamina. Fabio Wardley has very, very, very good cardio, actually. The problem with him, and the reason he got so tired against Daniel Dubois, is because he was missing so many punches. Like when you load up, see, there's a difference between throwing little pity-patty shots, little arm punches like most people that have stepped into a boxing gym throw when they hit the bag. Those are not hard shots. Come on. The vast majority of people, I've been to countless boxing gyms in my life and seen everyone from keep fit boxers to professionals to amateurs, everybody, right? The vast majority of people, when they're hitting the bag, they throw arm punches, pity-patty shots. It's not often that you'll come across somebody in the gym who can really bang. Big punches are not as common as you might think. You get a disproportionately high number of them in world level boxing. Yes, because that power is one of the things that allowed them to get to world level. But if you're in and around the gyms, amateur gyms, pro gyms over the years, you'll soon realize that really big punches are quite rare. They're not that common. Most people don't really understand what it takes out of you to load up. A guy like Wardley, who is a big puncher, to load up and put all of your body weight into a shot and miss. They don't understand the kind of energy it takes out of you because they're only used to throwing little pathetic pity-patty punches on the bag or on the pads. They don't understand those kind of shots are very different to the shots that Wardley throws. Yeah. Those Wardley right hands are extremely energy sapping, even when he lands, but even more so when he misses. All right. So that's the reason that Fabio Wardley got so tired. It's because he was missing with big shots time and time and time again. Why was he throwing all those big shots? Again, we come back to fight and flight or fight or flight. When you're a guy that lacks the technical ability to compete with a Daniel Dubois, and he's coming at you and he's a big puncher and he's got this big heavy jab, you go into fight or flight mode. And fight or flight mode isn't the most rational, logical thinking mode, all right? It's a mode which just says, I need to hit this guy back and hit him very hard. And Wardley was basically stuck in that fight back mode, that instinctive fight back mode, the whole fight. And that's lack of experience. He doesn't have the years of amateur background experience where you learn to be calm in the middle of a shootout. Yeah. Dubois has that. Wardley doesn't have that because of the lack of experience. Now, some fighters are able to pick up that ability or develop that ability quicker than others. Evidently, Wardley hasn't been able to pick that ability up that quick. And most fighters, again, with the lack of amateur background, they also don't pick it up that quick. There are some anomalies, some anomalous fighters that do pick it up quick. So, is Wardley really going to be able to develop the kind of technique necessary to reverse the result of the first fight with Daniel Dubois in a rematch? No. If he's been boxing for whatever it is now, professional, 8 years or something, and he hasn't been able to develop those skills by this point, he's not going to develop them now. He's 31 years of age. It's not going to happen. All he can hope for is that he's a bit more conservative with his shots because you know, I saw Derek Chisora's take on this fight. A shout out to Adam Fawkes for the super chat. He says, how do you see Dubois managing after boxing, given it's been his strict routine for decades? That's a good question. I'll come on to it in a second. Shout out to Adam Fawkes. Just to finish my thought on Wardley. I don't see Wardley developing the kind of skills necessary to really be able to compete with Dubois boxing. You know, he's got himself out of trouble so many times by going into what I call Super Saiyan mode. But it's the fight or flight thing. It's pure instinct. When have you ever seen Fabio Wardley against a top fighter pull off a really clever move? Do you know what I mean? He doesn't pull off really clever moves. He relies on the other guy getting too aggressive, overambitious, exchanging with him, and he walks him onto one. I mean, we saw that as far back as the Eric Molina fight years ago. That's what he relies on. Nathan Gorman. He didn't beat Nathan Gorman with any kind of special moves. Nathan Gorman just got a bit overambitious, thinking he was going to take this white collar fighter out. And the white collar fighter started swinging back with reckless abandon. And Nathan Gorman ended up on the canvas. Even Uncle Phil says he did land that clean uppercut. I'm not sure if he's having a conversation with someone else. Well, yeah, he landed a few shots in the fight, but he missed far more than he landed. That's the point. And he missed way more than he landed because of the lack of skill there, the lack of experience, not having the necessary... See, Wardley wasn't particularly calm in the moment. And that lack of calmness is because of the anxiety that comes with not having the skills. That's where it comes from. He knows he doesn't have the skills of a Dubois. He knows he knew being in there against Hooney and Parker and Dubois that he was out of his depth skill-wise. He knew it. If he didn't know it before those fights, he knew it during the fight. So that's why against Dubois, I do think there was an element there with Wardley in the early going against Dubois of when he dropped him, he was like, I better get this guy out of here real quick because he's way more skilled than I am. So I need to end it as fast as possible. I'm not sure what point Evil Uncle Phil is making. Yes, he dropped him twice, but he doesn't have the skill. Yes, that's why he couldn't finish him. That's why despite dropping him twice, he was completely outboxed and dismantled for the rest of the fight. That's the point. He landed those right hands early because he was very fast. He caught Dubois unawares, took Dubois a couple of rounds to adjust to the athletic speed. Once he adjusted, he totally dismantled him. Wardley wasn't able to stay in the fight because he didn't have the skills. Simple. Same reason he was totally outboxed by Justice Hooney. I mean, okay, Justice Hooney beat Frazer Clarke, but in terms of boxing, Frazer Clarke was way more into and way more competitive in terms of boxing with Hooney than Wardley was. Wardley was being completely boxed out of sight, whereas Frazer Clarke was kind of somewhat competitive because he has the amateur background that Fabio Wardley doesn't have. I mean, even in the first Frazer Clarke fight, Wardley was being outboxed. Yes, he had moments of success where he managed to impose himself with just sheer aggression, power, athleticism, but not because of skill. Right? Wardley doesn't have skill like that. And so going into a Dubois rematch, even Uncle Phil says he survived on his athleticism, no doubt, but his lack of skill didn't matter in his moments of success is my point. Yeah, but those moments of success, evidently, due to his athleticism and power and all that, it's not enough. That's my point. It's not enough. Evidently, it wasn't against Dubois. So, going into a rematch, how can he change things? How can he make things different? I think it's really a psychological thing. I think somehow they have to get Wardley to feel more comfortable and more calm when he's got Dubois coming at him, because Dubois is an aggressive fighter. He'll use his jab, he'll come at you, and he'll force you to fight, basically. And that raises the anxiety levels. When you don't have the skills of an Usyk or even a Joe Joyce, right, who had the amateur background, we don't have those kind of skills, your anxiety starts going through the roof. So they need to work on how to keep him calm in situations like that and make better use of those explosive bursts of athleticism. But I'm telling you, it's a difficult task, especially after all the damage he took first time around. It's a very, very difficult task. And look, I've picked against Fabio Wardley so many times. He's proved me wrong so many times. I didn't make a prediction for the Dubois fight because of that. But I will be making a prediction based upon what I saw in their first encounter on the Dubois rematch. And I'm picking Dubois. Yeah, Wardley's always got a chance because of that power, the heart. And because Dubois, you know, although he is technically a solid fighter, he's no slickster. I mean, if he was a slickster, he wouldn't be getting dropped twice in the first 3 rounds. Justice Hooney didn't get dropped twice in the first 3 rounds, did he? So Dubois is no slickster. He is there to be hit. But he has basic boxing fundamentals and he's calm in the eye of the storm against a guy like Wardley, who's technically inferior to himself. Once he got a gauge of the speed, he just stuck the jab on him. And it was relatively straightforward from there on in. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Fabio Wardley triggering the rematch. It seems ill-conceived to me. But as I said earlier on in the stream, if Wardley had listened to doubters, he'd never be where he is. So he's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to do what he feels to do, not what I think he should do or what any of you guys think he should do. He didn't become a millionaire and heavyweight champion by listening to doubters. So it is what it is. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Shout out to Adam Fawkes now. Adam Fawkes' super chat. How do I see Dubois managing after boxing, given it's been his strict routine for decades? That is a very, very good question. It's a fantastic question because, again, there are some people who question this, but I think most of us are of the opinion that Daniel Dubois is on the spectrum. Anyone that's been around people that are on the spectrum, you'll notice some of the classic telltale symptoms of spectrum disorder. And one of the most common things with people on the spectrum is they are, I don't know whether addicted is the right word, but they are individuals who love routine, sometimes to quite an extreme extent. And when they're taken out of their routine, they become very upset. And so if Daniel Dubois is indeed on the spectrum, and he's like that, and he's just totally set on his routines and not getting out of his routines, once his professional career is over, or effectively over, let's say he starts losing all the time and he basically becomes a victim, where does he go from there? Can he break his routine? Can he have a happy life away from boxing? It remains to be seen. I suspect Daniel Dubois will always train. I don't think he'll ever stop. I think as long as he's drawing breath, even way past the end of his boxing career or his effective boxing career, he'll still continue to train. That's what I suspect. I mean, you look at certain ex-fighters now, they still train. Frank Bruno still trains. As I understand it, it's mainly weights, but Frank Bruno was a weights addict even when he was boxing. I always got the impression that Bruno enjoyed weights training far more than he enjoyed boxing training. And he still does it even now. How old is Frank Bruno? Well into his 50s, if not 60s. No, it must be in his 60s by now. Early 60s. So, yeah, I suspect Dubois will continue training forever. But in terms of will he let his professional career go, I'm not sure. That's an interesting one. I hope he's okay after his career comes to an end, because it might be more difficult for him than for other people. Shout out to Grizz for the super chat. Much appreciated. He said, I hear you about not listening to doubters, but triggering this rematch clause is crazy to me, Hatman. Anyway, big up every time. Yeah, big up Grizz D. And that's the thing. That is the double-edged sword when it comes to self-belief and confidence. Because as the old saying goes, Father Time is undefeated. Father Time will catch up with every fighter eventually. Because of the self-belief that a lot of these top fighters have, they learn to trust their own judgment and believe in themselves, ignoring all the doubters. That's how they become successful. But the other side of that coin is that they tend to carry on far longer than they should, ignoring all the doubters. When they way past their sell-by date, when they start losing a bunch of fights, they're telling themselves, oh no, I lost the fight because I was injured, I wasn't 100%. You know, they come up with a bunch of excuses in order to feed their self-belief again, because they've been doing that their whole careers successfully. That's when it becomes dangerous late in a fighter's career. That's when they can really get hurt and sustain long-term damage, because they're not used to having to listen to people, because people are usually wrong in their minds, right? The doubters have been wrong my whole career. I've been making... Evander Holyfield's a classic example. He was doubted all the way from the amateurs through the pros, moving up to heavyweight. He was always constantly doubted. And he fought on for way too long. But you can understand it because the doubters were wrong so many times. In his mind, why should he ever listen to them? In his mind, his judgment was better than the doubters' judgment could ever be. But the one thing about the doubters, not that we are doubting these fighters out of malice, yeah? We're just doubting these fighters out of objective analysis and sometimes out of compassion. One thing about the doubters is that we're all eventually right in the end because of Father Time. Father Time will catch up to everyone. Shout out to Grizz D for the super chat. Much appreciated. Yeah, Ali the same, encircled. Spot on. Ali the same. He proved the doubters wrong so many times. Why should he listen to them when they're telling him not to come back and fight Larry Holmes? Do you know what I mean? It's hard, man. It's hard. Shout out to June Sports. So let's get some shout outs in here. Big up Kieran Malcolm. Yes, run the likes up, people. Big up Kizzy. Mark Westbury. Is it Leo? He says he, as in Wardley, needs at least 6 months off, and the rematch means he will have to fight him within 4 months. Is that right? He has to fight him within 4 months? That's not enough time. Big up Chainsaw, David Fisher, Jimmy, Southstar Online, long time, Foundation, big up Southstar. Where's Carlos? Big up. Shout out to Eamon, The Vinyl Collector, 2024, Tech, Dave, KS, Matt Jukes, Brethren in the house, KO Talk, OC, Undisputed, Albie Reynolds, shout out. Yes, Pickney Boy, Bariqua, AJ, Maximus. Who else we got in here? Encircled, yep. June Sports, Galaxy Edits, Doco. And I can't shout everybody out. There is a lot of names here, but big up everybody in the live chat. Orca says, I think he activated the rematch clause because if Itama got Dubois out of there, he can't go the WBO route anymore. That's interesting. That's interesting. Although, the way that Frank Warren is talking, at first I thought that they were going to try and make Itama versus Dubois before the end of the year. But maybe Frank Warren knew that Wardley was going to activate the rematch clause, or maybe that was not the plan for Itama to start with. Maybe the plan, because he keeps talking about Itama fighting for the world title before the end of the year. Well, who can he fight other than Usyk or Dubois? Well, of course, there's Murat Gassiev, who holds the WBA regular belt. And, if you want to call that a world title, some joke business. That might be the route that they're looking to take Daniel Dubois down. If he gets past Filip Hrgović, it's looking likely he'll fight Hrgović. I saw an interview with Keith Connolly, and he didn't flat out confirm that Hrgović is going to fight Hrgović is going to fight Itama if he gets past Dave Allen tomorrow. But he strongly hinted at it. Let's just put it that way. And so maybe the plan is for Itama to fight Hrgović, then take on Murat Gassiev before the end of the year for that little Mickey Mouse WBA regular belt. If he fights Gassiev, okay, Gassiev can punch, particularly with the left hand. But this is a guy that lost to Otto Wallin, folks. I think Gassiev will be absolutely annihilated by Moses Itama. I don't think that fight... I'd be surprised if it goes 5 rounds. I think Itama totally annihilates him. He's too fast. too twitchy, reflexes too good, too athletic, hits too hot, too big. Gassiev will get absolutely obliterated in that fight. Unless he comes out with some random big left hook, which is always a possibility in heavyweight boxing, but I think the chances of that happening are slim. Shout out to Grizzly for the super chat. He says, even if Fabio Wardley wins, I'm sure he takes another bad beating in the process before landing a lucky punch. Yeah, that's the thing about Wardley, and that's why, as we discussed on my previous stream, people like Barry McGuigan are basically advising Fabio Wardley to retire. Because, yeah, maybe he comes back and gets an unlikely victory, but over the long haul, he's not going to develop the skills necessary to avoid taking a lot of punishment at the highest levels. And if he's made enough money, if he's made millions, he's already overachieved for a white-collar fighter, a guy that was working as a recruitment consultant and took up boxing as a bit of a thrill-seeking hobby. He's already massively overachieved. He's done more than his mentor Dylan White has done already. So why push your luck? You know? Why overstay your welcome? Make as much money as you can make in a short period of time and get out with your health intact. Because you look at a guy like Fabio Wardley, the British public love him. He's not as big a name as an Anthony Joshua or a Tyson Fury, but of the people in Britain that know Wardley, they love him. Not just because of the way he fights, but the way he comes across outside the ring. They like the way he speaks, his demeanor, comes across as a polite guy, a stand-up guy. That means he's got a career after boxing in some type of media capacity in Britain. You can see it. It's there. He has the kind of personality and confidence and all that kind of stuff. He speaks well. He's articulate. This guy can have a successful career outside of boxing and doesn't even need to be in the field of boxing. Like, seriously, Dylan White did, was it Celebrity MasterChef? You could see Fabio Wardley doing Celebrity MasterChef. He can fit into all those different kind of crowds because of the way he comes across. I don't know how good he would be at acting, but I could see him in action movies and stuff like that. Seriously, that guy's got a career outside of boxing, and you can't say that for a lot of fighters. Most of them, really, they don't have anything other than boxing in terms of talent. But Fabio Wardley's got more than that. And because of that, I think he doesn't need to risk his health to any super extent. Do you know what I mean? Just my advice would be, don't take the Dubois rematch. Take a long rest. Come back. Maybe have a fight against a lower level opponent. Look good knocking him out. And then target the winner or loser of the AJ Fury fight, or even the winner of the Deontay Wilder-Derek Chisora rematch, particularly if it's Wilder. Cash out on a big fight like that and sail off into the sunset with your health and faculties intact, and then start your new career outside of boxing. Yeah, this guy's loved by the British public, so take advantage of that. If you end up as a vegetable, a cabbage, talking like James Toney or Riddick Bowe or worse, well, there's your career after boxing down the drain. Do you know what I mean? At this point, he needs to think about his career after boxing, not just his career in boxing. For some fighters, you don't think they really have much outside of boxing, so it's like, okay, whatever. But with this guy, he's got so much potential outside of boxing, don't throw it away. That would be my advice. Cable Watson says he's weird looking though, that hurts his acting career. No, it doesn't. If you're a woman, it might hurt your acting career. If you're a man, being weird looking is an advantage. Some of the most iconic actors are weird looking. Christopher Walken's weird looking. Yeah. And many others. That's one of the advantages of being a man, is when it comes to acting, music, stuff like that, you don't need to look like a model to be successful and have loads of supporters. But when you're a woman, particularly in music, you really need to be attractive. It's hard to get super popular if you're not attractive. Joey says that I wouldn't say he's weird looking. Yeah, he's not particularly weird looking. He does have a big head, right? He's got kind of that T-Rex thing going on. He's got like a big head. But yeah, he's not like super deformed or anything crazy looking. He wouldn't look out of place. In fact, the look that he has, I think, can work in acting because it's a distinctive look. It makes you stand out from other actors. Yeah, because you look distinctive, you look different. Steve Buscemi, somebody mentioned there as a weird looking guy who's been successful in acting. Indeed. I mean, it's so... Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger was never weird looking, but he was weird sounding. Guy with a thick Austrian accent playing American characters. It was so bizarre. But if you have the charisma, people will just shrug it off. Oh, well. American character like John Matrix in Commando. What was his name? John Matrix? Was Matrix's code name? I don't know. But he was an American character anyway, with some thick Austrian accent. Like, what? Shout out to James Clifford for the super chat. Testing 1, 2, 3. So it was John Matrix. That was his actual surname. It was a weird surname, isn't it? John Matrix. Who the hell's called Matrix? Yeah, let off some steam, Bennett. You know, by today's standards, most Arnie movies from the 80s, including Commando, wouldn't be taken seriously. But the 80s was a different time. I mean, there's a scene in Commando where John Matrix is on the lawn of some, is he a mercenary or gangster or whatever he is? He's on the lawn of his mansion. And there are literally guys on the roof, guys hiding behind bushes and walls, guys everywhere, shooting at John Matrix. They were all shooting, dozens of guys shooting at him, and he's out in the open on the lawn and he's killing them all. Not a bullet hits him. Unbelievable. Literally unbelievable. That's how movies were in the 80s. Modern audiences wouldn't accept something like that. You know, times have moved on. They want a little bit more realism in their gun battles. But then Arnie was just like there with a big machine gun spraying everyone, and guys were coming out here with no aim, apparently trained with no aim. He's there right out in the open and nobody's hitting him. Crazy. AJ says that's pure skill, Hat Man. Is that what they call it? Indeed, he was like Mayweather with those green berets. You know what I mean? Nobody could touch him. Incredible. Eamon says, remember that Arnie accent made the Terminator movie more relatable. It didn't make it more relatable, it made it more memorable. His accent became a feature in his movies. You know? And the I'll be back line and all that became a feature. You'd have to say it every time. Get to the chopper, it's going to explode. Yeah. Come on, do it. And all that stuff. JR says Commando was a cheese fest. Indeed it was, as so many 80s movies were. Put the cookie down. Yes. is in my house with my wife eating my cookies. Yeah. Who's your daddy and what does he do? Come on, tell me. Yeah, the Arnie noises, pivotal to the script. Yeah, yeah. You know the Arnie scene that always cracks me up is the scene in Total Recall where he's outside of the what do you want to call it? Space station thing, Mars station thing, and his visor on his helmet cracks and his eyeballs start popping out and he's like get to the chopper. Swarbe says there's a good chance he'll be punch drunk. He could also develop all number of issues like Parkinson's, early onset dementia, etc. He's basically having multiple bad car crashes every fight. I agree. Adam Falk says Arnie or Palpatine. That's a tough one. I'll go with Palpatine. Execute Order 66. I'll go with Palpatine. It's treason then. I love democracy. I love the Republic. I say Palpatine because Palpatine is more relatable to real life. Those types of characters in the world of politics and media. I am the Senate. There's another one. Yeah, I am the Senate. It's treason then. When he reveals his true form and he's like, henceforth you shall be known as Darth Vader. Yeah, do it. Kill him. Kill him now. Yeah, that's one. I'm afraid that what's it called now? I'm afraid the deflector shell will be quite operational. Do it. What a ridiculous character. Oh, flipping ridiculous character. One of the best movie villains of all time. That guy that played, is he still alive? The guy that played Palpatine, he hammed it up to the 10th power. He hammed that character all the way up. Yeah, I've heard Alex Jones doing the English accent. It's very funny. Like in that infamous Piers Morgan interview. Who's like, well, Piers, I can talk like this as well, Piers. I own over 50 firearms. Murder. You know when he starts saying that in the Piers Morgan interview? Murder. I can talk like this as well, Piers. Oh, damn. Eamon says Keyshawn Davis missed weight again twice, but made it on the made it on the third attempt. Dear, oh dear. Who does the best Mike Tyson impression? I reckon Jamie Foxx does a good Mike Tyson impression. I like that Jamie Foxx stand-up bit where he's doing an impression of Mike Tyson. And it's Mike Tyson who's unhappy with him because he did the impression. And Mike Tyson approaches him and he's like, yeah, I heard your jokes. I heard your jokes about me. I heard what you said, Jamie. I heard your jokes. I don't know if anyone's seen that stand-up routine from Jamie Foxx back in the day when he's doing the Mike Tyson. June Sports says was looking weight drained. Some people are saying Eddie Murphy's Mike Tyson was good. I'd have to go back and watch it again, but I don't remember it being as good as Jamie Foxx's. I like Jamie Foxx's Mike Tyson better. X12 says, I think you should try fighting Dubois next. Damn, you must hate me. Norman Jr. missed weight as well? Brian Norman Jr.'s fighting this weekend? What's up with all these guys missing weight? South Star says, Jamie Foxx's Mike Tyson story about Cisco and Stevie Wonder is brilliant. Remind me about that one. I might not have heard it. In Circle says, the contrast between how Mike Tyson looks and sounds honestly made him scarier. There was a character in the movie House Party who seemed to be loosely based on Mike Tyson, because it's this kind of, you know, surprising juxtaposition. That's probably not the right term to use, but you know, there's this surprising contrast between the way the guy looks and the way he sounds. It's like a big guy with a big thick neck. But when he talks, it's like, yeah, I heard your jokes. You think a guy like that would have a big booming voice, but somehow it's like, I got a little voice, my Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's voice today is not as high pitched and squeaky as it used to be when he was younger. That's probably a lot of the smoking. When you smoke, it somehow affects your vocal cords and your voice gets a bit deeper and more raspy. But when Mike Tyson was young and like in the 80s, he had a really high-pitched, lispy voice like Mike Tyson. Now that I agree with. Somebody said Starmer should be next for Dubois. I second that. South Star says you'll have to listen to it. It's hilarious. Palpatine versus Voldemort. I hope Palpatine. I mean, Voldemort is pretty good, but he ain't on Palpatine's level in terms of movie villainy. AJ says Mike wouldn't have been Mike without the voice. It was perfect. Sorbet says Voldemort loses purely based on the shockingly bad laugh. Joey says, what happened to Martin Bacoli? What happened to Martin Bacoli? Gluttony, in my opinion, poor management under Billy Nelson. And he's another one of these fighters, and there appears to be a growing list of them now, that are in contractual disputes with Ben Shalom. He says he's a free agent. Ben Shalom says, no, you're not. Chris Eubank Jr. is saying something similar. And one of the most extraordinary things about Bacoli is that he's apparently a vegetarian. What in the world is he eating as a vegetarian to be that fat all the time? He lives in Scotland. Maybe he's eating those fried Mars bars, chips every day, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Just a ridiculous amount of carbs. Maybe, what did they eat in Congo? Did he eat things like fufu in Congo? I don't know. But whatever he's eating, he needs to stop it. Even Uncle Phil says he probably drinks a lot. Has he picked up that Scottish habit as well? I mean, I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but I remember studies coming out back in the days when I actually used to look at the headlines in newspapers when I was walking through the tube station and stuff and what have you. But they did many studies in Britain that showed the highest rates of binge drinking were in Scotland. And then after Scotland, I think it was the northwest of England, either the northwest or the northeast, but Scotland ranked the highest in terms of binge drinking and just alcoholism for years and years and years. AJ says, Macaulay likes chugging liters of Iron Brew daily. Some people are saying they eat pounded yam in Congo. Okay. Yeah, if you eat too much in the Caribbean, particularly in Jamaica, that stuff is known as hard food. Green banana, yam, stuff like that, it's known as hard food. And if you eat too much of it, you end up with a hard food belly. And that's what Martin Macaulay has, a hard food belly. In Circle says, Macaulay is penning new sparring stories. I hear rumors that that his next one will be a 300-page epic about how he beat Godzilla, King Kong, and the Basilisk from Harry Potter, and Rocky Balboa all in one afternoon. And I do have to reiterate something I said in a recent video regarding Moses Atama, because some people already are sick of hearing how well Atama did in sparring against this person or that person. They say, oh, we've heard it all before about Macaulay and look what happened there. But the difference is the sparring stories about Macaulay were all coming from Macaulay himself and his trainer manager, Billy Nelson. The sparring stories about Atama are not coming from Atama. They're not coming from his coach. They're coming from the people that sparred him or the people that coached the guys that sparred him. That's the difference. So it's not self-aggrandizement. Yeah, we're hearing about Atama through people that have sparred him, not from him himself for the most part anyway. He's answered certain questions about some sparring sessions when asked, but that's because it was already out there that he'd sparred these guys and apparently done well. And so my point is, I think it's more significant when you hear all of these impressive, hear about all these impressive sparring performances from people that have sparred someone rather than from the guy himself. That's when it's more impressive, when you hear it from a bunch of other people. In fact, there's a guy, I want to say he's a German-based fighter, who I just saw an interview with, a heavyweight, who I just saw an interview with right before this stream started. And he sparred both Dubois and Atama. And they asked him, like they ask everybody these days, who he thinks would win in a fight between Dubois and Atama. And without any hesitation, he said Atama. He's been in the ring with both of them. He's not Team Atama. This is a guy that just, he's trying to forge his own path, by the way. And he actually said he'd love to fight Daniel Dubois. But yeah, he said he sparred Atama and Dubois, and without any hesitation, he said Atama wins if they fight. That doesn't necessarily make it so, obviously. Fights are not won and lost outside the ring by people speculating and giving their predictions. They're won inside the ring. I totally get that, but the point I'm really trying to make about Atama is that people are right to be excited about his potential. There's nothing wrong with people being excited to see what this precocious talent can actually do. We hope that he's got a chin and a heart and stamina. If he has, as Dave Allen said, it might be a write-off for the heavyweight. The whole heavyweight division might get written off by this guy if he's got a chin. Even more so if he's got stamina and heart. Then they're really in trouble. But who knows? Maybe they haven't. Or maybe he hasn't. Maybe he has some critical flaw. You know? You get that sometimes with these precocious talents. They're lacking in some area. They've got an Achilles heel. Even Uncle Phil says, yeah, Shalom saying Eubank Jr. isn't a free agent after saying he was. Looks more like Shalom drama. And you'd have to figure that Eubank Jr. would have made sure that his contract with Shalom was ironclad after all the issues he had with previous promoters, you know? You'd have thought his lawyers would have crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's and made extra sure that there was nothing sticky in the contract. But if we're to believe Shalom, there is something sticky in the contract. Are we going to see Chris Eubank Jr. coming out calling Shalom a scumbag next too? Because he kind of laid off him at that press conference, you know, when he called them all scumbags, Frank Smith, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren. But he said Ben's all right. He didn't big him up much. He said, Ben's all right too. He was actually bigging up Turkey Al-Sheikh. And he said, oh yeah, Ben's all right too. But now I suspect it. Well, he also called Sauerland a scumbag. I forgot. So yeah, is there going to be a scumbag accusation from Eubank towards Ben Shalom incoming? Encircled says, I see some people saying Itama did nothing as an amateur, which just isn't true. Indeed, it isn't true. It's absurd. Itama didn't have that many amateur fights. That part is true. But in the relatively few number of amateur fights he did have, he achieved incredible things for someone with such few amateur fights. He was he was European junior champion, and he was world junior champion. And he never lost any fight in either of those tournaments. So in those tournaments, he was going up against the best, well, the best under 18 amateurs in Europe, in the Euros, and then the best under 18 amateurs in the world. And he just went through everyone like a hot knife through butter. All the fights are on YouTube. There's only one fight in either of those tournaments that even was remotely competitive. And ironically, it was against the smallest guy that he fought. But all the other fights, he was just battering them. He stopped most of them. And the ones he didn't stop, he mostly got standing counts against them and stuff like that. And these are elite guys for the age range. So yeah, the idea that Itama did nothing in the amateurs is ridiculous. I mean, his amateur career, Dubois had more amateur fights, much more amateur fights than Itama, but the level was similar. It's just that Itama was far more successful at that level than Dubois was when Dubois was an amateur. And that really speaks to the precocious nature of Itama's talent. Dubois was amateur for way longer. Well, let me not say he was amateur for way longer, because apparently Itama did start quite young. He didn't have as many fights as you would think, being that he started so young, because he was so good. It was so hard to match Itama. And also he kind of drifted in and out of boxing. He wasn't necessarily in love with it the whole time. But he did start at a young age, like 10 or 11 or something, Itama. So he didn't have as many fights as you would expect someone to have that started boxing so young. Whereas Daniel Dubois did have, although he started at a similar age, maybe younger than Itama, maybe 8 or 9 years old, and he had a lot of fights. But he didn't achieve as much as Itama did as an amateur in terms of winning those big tournaments and all that kind of stuff. it's going to sound strange, but at least for the British amateur scene, Itama was too good. He was too good. People didn't want to fight him. That's why as a school kid, he was having to spar all these professional heavyweights, world champions, cruiserweights and whatnot. Itama at 16, if he's sparring Lawrence Okolie and AJ and Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois, how are you going to put him in there sparring other 16-year-olds? I mean, it's not going to work. Jack Hammer says Verhoeven wins against Usyk. All right, hot take there. I think my tab might have crashed here. Let's open another one. Can you guys still hear me in the live chat? Just want to make sure my stream is still active. Can I get a yes or no? You guys hear me in the live chat? Well, I wouldn't get a no if you couldn't hear me. Can I get a yes in the live chat if you can hear? Okay, Galaxy Edit said I can still be heard. All right. Since the boxing topics seem to be exhausted for this stream, can we talk about music for a minute? Anyone want to talk about music? I've seen some funny clips on Instagram earlier on today. There was one clip which was taking the mickey, making fun of Cameron, the rapper. And so there's a guy who said, if the guy who named the walkie-talkie named everything else, they would sound like Cameron lyrics. And anyone who knows about Cameron's lyrics understands why it's funny. And so there's this compilation of this guy doing a Cameron impression, and he's naming all these things in a Cameron-esque fashion. He calls the TV a stary squarey. Did I watch the Michael movie? No, I haven't watched the Michael movie. You know how Cameron raps. Killer. Indeed, a car would be a wheelie movie. Yeah. That's the ridiculous way that Cameron raps. Him and Joel Santana just made up loads of ridiculous words that sounded childish and stupid. But that was part of Cameron's whole thing. I was never into it. I mean, I always thought it was weird that Cameron, Jules Santana, all of their rubbish, childish sounding slang. But it makes for good comedy skits, I'll tell you that. Big up KO Kid Boxing. What do you guys think of the Michael movie? I haven't seen it, but I've seen a lot of people complaining that they didn't go into all the controversial stuff about Michael Jackson, and that's why people didn't like the movie. But with that stuff aside, not going into the controversial stuff, with that not being in there, was the movie otherwise decent or not? Johnny Gaffer says, good movie, watched it twice. In fact, that's a point I forgot to make earlier on regarding Fabio Wardley's stamina, because people are saying he doesn't have good stamina. I don't think there's anything wrong with his stamina. I think that he just misses too many punches, loading up on huge swings, missing. That takes it out of you. And he's also quite anxious in there. He's always in the fight mode as part of the fight or flight aspect, right? You look at a guy like James Toney when he was fighting at heavyweight. He was fat as a pig. There is no way on God's green earth that the heavyweight James Toney had better cardio than Fabio Wardley. There's no way you could have put them in a fitness gym and James Toney would have lasted more, longer on a running machine or even throwing punches on a bag. He wouldn't have been to be able to throw as many shots if he was going flat out. If they were both told to go flat out on the bag, throw as many as you can, no, James Toney wouldn't have been able to match Fabio Wardley for cardio. But James Toney at heavyweight, as fat as he was, looked like a boxing Buddha. He was able to go rounds easily because he was so relaxed. And because he didn't load up on all his shots. Because he was so experienced, being in the ring, moving his head, avoiding shots, countering. To him, it was like a walk in the park. He could do that stuff in his sleep. It was so normal to him. And that's why a guy like that, who's not even in any kind of shape. I mean, James Toney is well known. When he used to train at Freddie Roach's gym, he didn't do any damn training other than sparring. He didn't hit the bag. He barely did any skipping, nothing. And in between rounds, believe it or not, you go chat to the Americans that used to be in Freddie Roach's gym. In between rounds, James Toney used to be guzzling down, not water, but liters of Coca-Cola. Bro, in between sparring rounds, my man was guzzling down Coca-Cola in big 2-liter bottles and whatnot. Yeah, but he was so experienced. He was so experienced and his technique was so good. I've heard trainers in the past say this, when you have good defense, it gives the illusion that you've got good stamina. Because the good defense makes you calm. You're not anxious. When you're anxious, you're burning up loads of energy. When you've got good defense, you don't need to make big exaggerated foot movements to get out of danger. Make little subtle head movements, little counters back. It's all very relaxed. You don't need to be in the kind of incredible cardiovascular shape that a guy like Fabio Wardley is in when you have the technique, when you have the defense. It allows you to sometimes not be in the best shape, but still get through fights. Big up James Clifford for the super chat. He says, Tris Dixon's book called Damage on CTE and the long-term effects of a pro boxing career is very good, but I doubt boxers will read it. Indeed. They're going to avoid that one like the plague until they retire at least, because they don't want to have anything discourage them from their goal. And you can't be reading stuff like that if you're boxing, because once you have that in your head, you're going to go into the ring worrying about what can happen to you. Kieran Malcolm says the Michael movie is fire. Even Uncle Phil says, wow, how did they allow that in the gym? Well, who's going to stop James Toney in the gym? He's too experienced for anyone to be able to tell him anything. And on top of that, he's a very aggressive character, so he does what he wants. Freddie Roach weren't going to get into a big argument with him, do you know what I mean? James Toney does what he wants. I mean, like Ricardo Mayorga, in a lot of his heavyweight fights, in a post-fight interview, he'd put a cigar in his mouth, And I'm sure James Toney was a drinker too. He was certainly a glutton for food, but I'm pretty sure he was a drinker as well. Big up James Clifford. He says, apologies for taking it back to boxing. It was unintentional. Hey, wherever you want to go, my friend. Boxing or other topics, it's all good. Yeah, even Uncle Phil. Chisora might end up sounding like James Toney in a few years' time. That's right. You can see the early signs of it already. Is Mayorga the wildest character in boxing history? Nah, not even close. Not even close. Mayorga was a showman. But in terms of genuinely wild, There have been killers in boxing. Do you know what I mean? There have been hitmen in boxing. Mike Tyson fought a hitman on his way up called Reggie Gross. Yeah, that guy was an active hitman when Mike Tyson fought him. Later on in his career, a few fights after that, he got locked up for several bodies. He was a gun for hire. Edwin Valero, another wild character. Mayorga was more like a WWE guy. It was all very entertaining. You know, the macho Latino, cigarette smoker, slapping people around, slapping the girl's butt and all that, you know. This is like a stereotype of a Latino tough guy. It was all very entertaining. But it was theater. Yeah, Mitch Green was crazy. Mitch Green was like a dust head or something. Yeah. Dust head, crackhead. Yeah, Galotto was mad. Mitch Green was mad. In the 80s and 90s, you had the craziest heavyweights maybe ever. Maybe ever. Oliver McCall was crazy. Mitch Green. Andrew Galotto. Ike Ibeabuchi. He's still crazy even now. He's in some kind of shape though. Ibeabuchi's well into his 50s. Yeah, the guy's got crazy genetics. That's all I can tell you. Andrew Galotto got deported from the United States. Do you guys know that? Because and the funny thing is, right? Galotto, just making sure you guys can hear me. It's like my Wi-Fi connection keeps dropping out. So yeah, Andrew Galotto, for those of you who don't know, he was a good amateur. He was in the Olympics. He got a bronze at the Olympics in, was it 92? It was 92, or was it 88? I forget if it was 88 or not. I want to say it was 92. So he got a bronze in the Olympics at heavyweight, 200 pounds. And he was somebody who was banging the steroids, by the way, Andrew Galotto. But like so many guys from the former Eastern Bloc at that time, after his amateur career was finished, he didn't really think about turning pro because it wasn't a done thing. Obviously, they're coming out of the Soviet Union where there was no professional boxing. So they didn't really think about professional boxing. So basically, Andrew Galotto got into a bar fight and he messed up some guys in a bar fight in Poland. And he was wanted by the police. So he literally fled the country to go to America, to Chicago, where there's a big Polish community there. So he fled the authorities in his own country, landed in America, and he was working as a truck driver. Or he wanted to work as a truck driver. He said he had no intention of turning professional as a boxer. He just wanted to work as a truck driver, make some money, do his thing. But apparently work was not as easy to come by as he expected. And he wasn't making a lot of money. So that's when he walked into a boxing gym and thought, let me try and make some money doing the pro stuff. And that's how he became a professional fighter. But towards the end of his professional career in America, he ended up being deported because he impersonated a police officer. And I think he might have like a fake badge, and was he caught with firearms and other stuff? I forget now. But yeah, there was some kind of case that he caught in America where he was impersonating a police officer, and it resulted in him being deported back to Poland. Yeah, that guy was crazy as a box of frogs. Big up GMS Nightmare for the super chat. He says, how would AJ do with Don Charles as his coach? I think Don Charles is too emotional for a guy like AJ. I don't think his communication style would work that well. I think Robert Garcia was a good coach for AJ. I think Usyk might be a good coach for AJ, at least for the Fury fight. A lot of being a good coach isn't just about the knowledge you have. It's your ability to impart that knowledge on the student. And with some coaches, they just don't gel with certain fighters because the personalities don't gel. It's not that the coach doesn't have anything to teach them. It's just that the communication style doesn't quite work. And you know what I mean? Okay, so it was 88 when Galata won his medal in the Olympics. James Clifford says, I think Chisora's CTE actually has CTE. That's how far gone he is. Yeah, those who were skeptical about Buatsi's link up with Virgil Hunter have ultimately been proven right. I like to give it time, give a guy time with a coach. 3-4 fights, see how it works out. There were people immediately saying this ain't going to work out from day one. And yeah, they were correct. They were proven right. Buatsi should have been coached to be just a purely offensive fighter. But instead, Virgil Hunter tried to make him too technical. Evil Uncle Phil says, I just wonder why Buatsi hasn't moved on. It's just getting worse. Probably a misplaced sense of loyalty. Maybe he's formed an emotional bond with Virgil Hunter and he doesn't want to break the bond because he doesn't want to come across as being disloyal, or, you know what I mean? Some people get sucked into that. JR says, I don't think Buatsi loves boxing. You might be right. Buatsi's got a very business-like type personality. He just comes across like a typical Ghanaian business person. He talks like that. His demeanor is like, he doesn't have the demeanor of a boxer. He just talks like a Ghanaian businessman. To him, it's all very matter of fact. Okay, this gonna go over here and do this and do that, and then I'm gonna train with Virgil Hunter and Wave says, why do British fans love Dave Allen? He is a professional loser. It's a thing in Britain to like the so-called everyman, the down-to-earth guy who fans feel like they could share a pint with in the pub. That's what British boxing fans like. That's one of the reasons that Ricky Hatton was so popular. Obviously, Ricky Hatton, a much better fighter than Dave Allen. But there have been other British fighters that were far more talented and achieved far more than Ricky Hatton that weren't as popular as he was. I mean, Joe Calzaghe, many light years ahead or above or beyond Ricky Hatton in terms of ability. But Calzaghe was never as popular as Hatton. Not even close. So with British boxing fans, it's not just about how good you are. It's about whether they feel like they can relate to you. And they feel like they can relate to Dave Allen. Wave says, but Hatmany don't even train properly and always says after the fight he didn't try. That's why they can relate to him. Right? Large swathes of the public are out of shape. They'll make a New Year's resolution to go to the gym and it will last about a week. That's part of why they can relate to him. In Circle says he's 248 for this fight, which is decent. Wow. Alan has weighed in at 248. That is a very lightweight for him. 248 is... $17 stone 10? Yeah, 17 stone 10. That's what 248 is. That's very light for him. That's the lightest he's been in quite a while. Wave says it's a disgrace in my opinion. Well, whether you think it's a disgrace or not, is part of why people, I'm not saying myself, but large swathes of the British public like him. It was often, I don't think it applies as much these days, but certainly back in the 80s and 90s, the British mentality was so conservative, and it was also an aspect of the fall of the British Empire, Thatcherite Britain, which was very depressed. There was this weird thing back then where the British public preferred a gallant loser to a winner. They were much more fond of gallant losers. Some people say that's one of the reasons they like Frank Bruno so much. Because he was a gallant loser rather than a winner. But, you know, I theorized that it might have been to do with the fall of the British Empire because, of course, Britain used to be, before World War II, the most powerful nation on earth. Before American exceptionalism, you had British exceptionalism. And when the empire fell apart, that had an effect on the psyche of British people. They didn't have the same place in the world that they had a few decades earlier, you know? You could even say that the British public, to some extent, particularly in the 80s, kind of fell into a collective depression. The 80s was a depressed decade. Don't let anyone try to tell you different. I mean, 80s Britain had its charms about it. Of course it did. But it was extremely economically depressed, far beyond anything that we've seen since. The level of poverty that existed in 80s Britain just doesn't exist in today's Britain at all. The level of unemployment in 80s Britain is far beyond anything that there is today. So the psychological state of the country was a bit down then. JR says 80s America was the place to be, not the UK. Well, 80s America was a place of extremes. Because, again, the poverty in 80s America was way worse than anything in Britain. The inner cities were way worse in terms of crime, poverty. But in contrast, you had the Reaganomics. You had, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street, and you had people making fantastic amounts of money in the fields of property and finance and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the 80s was a time of extremes in America. Extreme wealth and extreme poverty. Whereas Britain was just, yeah, not in a good place in the 80s at all. There wasn't so much of the extreme wealth. I mean, Thatcher tried to, you know, with her style of governance, She tried to move it in the same direction as Reaganomics, but nowhere near as successfully as they did it in America. Yeah, the 80s, of course, was also the era of deindustrialization, which hit so many communities in Britain very hard. Working class communities mainly. Coal mining communities and stuff like that were hit very, very hard. Big up Charles B in the chat. Encircled says, hang on, King James says British people hate winners. Yeah, I don't think it's as much of a thing now. The era of British people that didn't like winners, that was back in the 80s and maybe the 90s. With this new crop of young people, the world is a much smaller place now with social media. No, they like winners. Young British boxing fans today like winners. They're different to the older generation. In fact, let me check out Dave Allen's box rec 1 second. I want to see what he's weighed over the past couple of years, because if he's 248 for this fight, when's the last time he weighed 248? Let me have a look. Because that seems like a lightweight for him. 248, let me see. Right, 248 for Hrgovic. He was 271 for his last fight. That's crazy. So he's lost over 20 pounds since February. He was about 260 against Makhmudov. So he's about 12 pounds lighter or 11 pounds lighter than he was against Makhmudov. He was 265 in the second Fisher fight, so he's much lighter than he was for that. The last time he weighed anything like 248 was 2019. He was 241 against David Price. Wow, so you got to go back over 6 years to when he was last in the 240s. 6 years. So he's obviously taking this fight very, very seriously indeed. And I did see him on the pads at the open workout the other day where they had some weird Chavy MC guy. Did you guys see that weird Chav? Who the hell was that? Is he like a Doncaster legend or something? I don't know. But had some weird Chav guy looking like a Chav from the early 2000s with Adidas tracksuit bottoms on, tucked into his white socks. Probably had Rockports on and one of those stripy polo shirts and a Burberry hat. He was up in the ring there emceeing as Dave Allen was hitting the pads. What in the world was that all about? Somebody saying he's called Devo. Is that the guy's name? Some northern chavery. I don't know. Yeah, they have these characters. They're always up north. You don't get them kind of characters down. Maybe us Southerners are too pretentious, but we don't have them kind of weird, odd characters that they have up north. I remember there was a guy from Hull. Was it Hull? No, Huddersfield. A guy from Huddersfield who looked like one of the Chuckle brothers. called DJ Smile. And he became like a local legend in Huddersfield because of some freestyle that he did outside the job center and some viral video back in the days. Anybody remember DJ Smile? And they made a song for him and all sorts of stuff. JR says maybe he raps Fields of Gold on the ring walk. That would be horrible. It's interesting the way that the north of England is really quite different culturally to the south and has been all my lifetime. Now, these days you could say because of the influx of immigrants, but no, even back in the 80s, it was very different. The north has all my lifetime always been very different to the south. In general, the south is more money focused and money oriented. And I've heard like ex-British criminals, old school criminals, talk about the difference in the criminal world in the north compared to the south. And they always said that London gangsters and London criminals were not as interested in violence and proving themselves to be tough as northern criminals were. Not that London criminals couldn't, carry out violence. They obviously were very capable, but they just weren't as caught up in the whole tough guy thing. Whereas the northern gangsters were far more into the whole tough guy thing and not just proving that they could shoot a gun, but actually get down in street fights and stuff like that. They were much more like in the hard man mode. Whereas in London, the gangsters were more like businessmen. Even Uncle Phil says, yeah, everyone outside of London overcompensates because they aren't cool. Is that what it is? I mean, generally, what you find up north is that people are more honest. I do think that's true. People are generally more honest up north. If they don't like you, they're more likely to show that they don't like you. Not that that's the case with everybody, but they're generally more like that. They're more plain speaking. And because of that, and they're also more friendly. It's like if they decide they're going to be friendly to you, they're very friendly. In somewhere like London, nobody's friendly. You don't meet friendly people and friendly strangers. You just don't. Whereas when you go, even a big city like Manchester, you go to the shop to get food or whatever, and the person behind the counter is like really friendly and chatty and all that kind of thing. You just don't get that in London, man. And down south in general. People are not chatty, they're not friendly. Do I have any film-related unpopular opinions? Yes. Well, it's not really an unpopular opinion. It's more like an unpopular preference or a guilty pleasure. So the vast majority of people despise the Hobbit movies. I quite like them. So I'm not telling you that they're great movies. It's subjective at the end of the day. Most people think they're garbage. But me personally, I quite like them. Especially the first two. The third one is the weakest, but the first two, I quite liked them. Even Uncle Phil says, up north, they even tried to force London accents. Who does that, though? Rappers? I mean, outside of the black community, because I remember back in the days, there used to be black guys in Birmingham that would force London accents because Birmingham girls loved London guys. So you get these Birmingham guys with these fake London accents to try and pick up chicks. And I've noticed with a lot of rappers from other parts of the UK, they kind of soften their regional accent to make it sound a bit more like a London accent. But in terms of just the regular folk, nobody does that. Nobody tries to make themselves sound like they're from London when they're up north. Nah, that's not something I've seen. Sonny Edwards, well, Sonny Edwards is from Croydon, but he kind of switches in and out of a Birmingham accent, which I don't really understand. Why does Sonny Edwards do that? I understand he lived for some period in Birmingham, but he's also from Croydon, so choose an accent and stick to it. If you're going to switch between accents, do it for the whole commentary. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to do the Birmingham thing, do Birmingham the whole commentary. Like Richie Woodall. Richie Woodall's from West Bromwich. I don't care. It's all Birmingham to me. West Bromwich, Wolverhampton, Birmingham. I don't business. It's all the same. I'm driving the Birmingham people crazy at this point. Yeah, Sonny Edwards drives me up the wall, constantly switching between London and Birmingham accent mid-sentence. It's really weird. It's Andrew Tate-ish, isn't it? Because Tate is always switching between the American and British accent constantly, which is weird. Charles B says, I have one for you that I know you will disagree with. The prequel Star Wars are masterpieces. Damn, masterpieces. Barring Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, I have to disagree with that one. The only one, I mean, I couldn't call any of them masterpieces personally. All I would say is that Palpatine was an incredible, iconic villain. And he was the best thing in the prequel movies was Palpatine. Other than that, for me, it was totally forgettable, all of it. It was like a CGI fest. And I didn't like most of the stuff in there, but there you go. See, Charles B. I knew somebody from the Midlands would chime in and correct me. He says, Macklin is a Brummie, Woodall is a Yam Yam. Yeah, see, Brummies hate that. When you make out as though one of the people that they call Yam Yams has the same accent as a Birmingham accent. Because no, the accent's totally different. Those Yam Yams talk funny. Those guys, what do they call it? The Black Country? They're like, man, those guys, they're the ones who talk in that stereotypical accent that you guys do when you're trying to impersonate someone from Birmingham. We don't talk like that. Yeah, I'm like in circles. It's all Brummie to me. Wolverhampton, West Bromwich, Telford. That's where Richie Woodall's from, right? Telford. Richie Woodall was quite a good commentator. What happened to him? It was a bit embarrassing when he did the commentary for the first Fury Usyk fight. maybe even the second fight. I don't know. Did he do commentary for that one? But aside from that clanger, I think Richie Wardle was a pretty good commentator. Didn't get emotional. Stuck to what he was seeing for the most part. Yeah, Macklin weren't a bad commentator either. I'm wondering if Macklin has been frozen out of the commentary game because of the Kinahan Association. Maybe it's got nothing to do with it, but I don't mind Macklin as a commentator. You know, the legs are shaky, Adam. That line always used to crack me up. Legs are shaky, Adam. And of course, Adam's working on DAZN now, so if Macklin joined that team, he'd be able to say that line all over again. Okay, music playlist says Dudley might have the most exaggerated version of that kind of accent. Dudley. Is that how they talking Dudley? Is that how they pronounce it? Dudley from Dudley. It sounds like that's how they'll talk there, just by the name of the place. Yeah, I'm from Dudley. Okay, Charles B says a good way to differentiate yam yams from brum is how they say the word floor. Yam yams sound like they're saying flour. Flour. Okay, I can kind of imagine it. Flour. Encircled says, if I spoke like that, I'd end it. Yo, Birmingham always catching strays on this live stream. Shout out to the Birmingham Massive. Okay, Abdul says, don't worry. I've grown up in Birmingham all my life. Hate the accent. Sounds like a bad song. Here's the thing about accents. I don't like the London accent these days either, because you know accents change over time. I don't like the way these young London kids speak. I don't like their accent. It annoys me. I find it terribly annoying. The way we used to speak, I mean, my accent has changed a bit over the years, but it's still somewhat there. The way we used to talk in South London, the accent we had in the 80s and 90s, is very different to the way they talk now in the black community and even in other communities. But the black community accent in London, specifically the new one, I don't like it. I don't like to hear it. It annoys me. When it comes to like content creators or whatever who are from London, they have to be from my generation in order for me to actually be able to handle listening to them. And even then in some cases, I can't handle it because they talk rubbish. But just in terms of the accent, they have to come from like my era. Otherwise, the accent will annoy the hell out of me. Genius says, I miss Cockneys. Yeah, the Cockney accent was always charming. Especially with the Cockney rhyme and slang. There is something charming and fun about it. Yeah, I agree with Charles B. The modern, that's what I'm talking, the modern UK roadman accent or London roadman is horrible. You see, roadmen back in the days, from my generation, they had like a tinge of Jamaican to the accent. which for me just made it sound more palatable. Do you know what I mean? There's a charm to the Jamaican accent and the slang and all that kind of business. And the whole vibe of it is appealing. But the modern accent, the modern roadman accent is just horrible, bro. I can't listen to it. I completely agree with Charlie. It's just butters, man. I can't listen to people talking like that, rapping like that, nothing. It just sounds so dumb. That's the best way I can describe it. Like the way these young London rappers rap today, the accent they have, they all sound dumb. They all sound like they've got learning difficulties or something with their accent. They all just, it's as if they're deliberately trying to sound dumb. Don't like it. Yeah, Tama does sound a bit like that. He does. He does. Simple Son says they do have learning difficulties. See, back in the days, if you follow like black popular culture, which has been heavily influenced by the United States, in the 80s and 90s with rap music, there was like a push, at least at a certain time in New York hip hop, there was a push to sounding intellectual. Even though you're from the street and you're a gangster and all that kind of stuff, you would impress your audience by having a broad vocabulary. And that was then reflected in the people that would follow hip hop music. They would also try and have great vocabularies and act like they're knowledgeable about this, that, and the other. And that was what people basically tried to aspire to be some kind of like guy from the street, but with a lot of knowledge about different things and a high vocabulary. You know, you had rappers like Rakim and Nas and the Wu-Tang and all these street rappers that also tried to portray themselves as intellectuals and spiritually enlightened and all this kind of business. That died in the 2000s. And they took that black popular culture, rap culture, in the completely opposite direction, to whereby in order to sound cool, rather than having a broad vocabulary, now in order to sound cool, you have to sound as dumb as possible. If you have any hint of a vocabulary about you, in modern day rap, you're classed as a nerd, a backpack rapper, uncool. You have to sound like a individual with learning difficulties and a serious drug problem in order to sound cool now as a rapper. Otherwise, you'll be looked at as corny. That's literally how it is. You have to sound dumb and mentally afflicted. That's exactly what Atama sounds like. AJ says Atama sounds like a dealer that smokes half an ounce of Cali a day. So Fruity Pepper says, notice Americans using loads of UK slang that they would never have used 20 years ago. Either they are trying to sell to a UK audience, or British influence on the internet has been strong recently. Well, there's a far greater influence of American slang, right? There might be the odd word here or there that Americans or American rappers have started using that originate in Britain, but the vast majority of loan words are coming from the direction of America to the UK. With that being said, in the subgenre of drill, UK beats have been extremely influential in America, in New York and other places where they make drill. The UK drill sound has been very, very influential. That's probably the most influential music genre or music subgenre, at least within black music, that I've seen in America, maybe in my lifetime. Is the way that all this UK drill sound, because obviously drill started out in Chicago, but it was a different kind of sound then. When the UK adopted drill, they then made their own version of it, which was very different to the original Chicago version of drill. And then when drill rappers in New York heard it, they were like, damn, these London guys, these UK guys are making some crazy beats. And now they've started adopting the UK drill style in their production. Yeah, I don't like drill either, apart from one song, which is a terrible song really, but for some reason I've always liked it, or I grew to like it. And that was an early drill song by Chief Keef, one of his early hits, called Don't Like. I always like that song. Chief Keef, Don't Like. It's a very simple song. He's just rapping about stuff he don't like. Yeah, I don't like drill as far as the rapping, but I do like some of the drill beats. I think just musically, sonically, drill is very innovative in terms of the production. The stuff that they're doing with the 808s and all that kind of thing, the percussion and the hi-hats and everything. I do like a lot of the drill production, just on some producer tip. But in terms of what they're rapping about and the rap styles and the flows, yeah, miss me with all that. Miss me with it. But the beats, I do like a lot of the beats. And Circle says, whenever AJ came out to Stormzy, I had to mute. Well, Stormzy's grime. He's not drill. But yeah, I never liked Stormzy either. He had that one song which AJ used to come out to, which ironically is the only song I ever even slightly liked of Stormzy, was Shut Up. It was okay. Other than that, I don't like Stormzy at all. Don't like his accent. He's an example of like the modern London roadman accent. I just can't, it just annoys me. The accent annoys me. Toro says, my introduction to the London underground culture was the Getaway 2 on PS2. Since then, I find the differences and similarities between it and culture here in the US fascinating. Yeah, I can't imagine that whatever is in the Getaway 2 was particularly accurate as far as UK criminal culture and what have you. I doubt it would be that accurate, because whenever American companies, you know, production companies, whether it's movies, games, depict Britain, it's always in this weird, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a version of Britain which they think exists in their head, but doesn't actually exist in reality. It's very weird the way that Americans depict Britain and British people in media. It's very, very weird. Britain is quite different to that, you know, to the way it's portrayed in American media. Shout out to Charles B for the super chat. He says, nothing to say, just showing support. Big up Charles B every time. Much appreciated, my bro. I mean, the misconceptions that Americans have about the UK are not as bad today as they were back in the day. I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, the misconceptions that Americans had about Britain were wild. I mean, totally wild. Because all they ever saw of Britain then, oh, okay, the Getaway 2 was developed in London. Okay. I haven't played the Getaway 2, so maybe you're right. But the way they portrayed British people back in the 80s and 90s is just wild, bro. It was like tea sipping, crumpets, the Queen, everyone going to Harry Potter boarding schools. The way they portrayed Britain is as if like everyone in Britain was some upper class rich kid. And they were portraying that in the 80s. I mean, nothing could be further from the truth in the 80s, bro. Most British people in the 80s were down bad. They were down bad. Yeah, and when they did portray working class British people, it was also like like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins or something. The jolly old chimney sweep. Oliver Twist or something like that. AJ says no one ever eats crumpets. Yeah, very rarely. Crumpets are not, by most people in Britain, in my estimation anyway, eaten very regularly. Brits do love tea though. That stereotype is true. Brits love off some tea, boy. Oh my days. There is a British addiction to tea. Obviously, I'm guessing it started during the time of the Empire when Britain controlled India. And they started importing all the tea and whatever. And it was a sign back then that you had some money, you know, that you were able to get tea. So it was like a status symbol. In the early period anyway, when tea started coming into Britain from India, it's like a status symbol that you could drink tea and show that you weren't a pauper. Yeah, British people love tea. That part is true. Charles B says, got a brew now. British people definitely have a tea addiction. Throughout all the different classes, not just an upper class thing, all the way through working class, but everyone drinks tea. And even the immigrants drink tea. Believe you me, in the Caribbean community, everybody loves tea. Certainly in my generation, everyone was addicted to tea. Yeah, I mean, now we're talking tea and digestive biscuits, that is elite. But you gotta make sure the dunk ain't too long, or you end up with a digestive in the drink. And that's butters. Nah, that stereotype is true, Toro. The tea drinking in Britain is true. Even if you go to the most working class environment, you go to a building site, right? Guys are working, doing, moving the bricks around and doing all that kind of stuff, carpentry, electrician stuff, and you will find the tea on deck. Whenever you find blue collar workers in the UK, they probably drink more tea than anybody. Building sites in Britain are awash with tea in polystyrene cups. Yeah, builder's tea. There you go. Charles B says, we literally had tea runners in the trenches in World War. Is that true? That's crazy. If that's true, that really is crazy. Tea runners. Damn. Do I like tea? I don't drink caffeine. That's the thing. Because I'm kind of sensitive to caffeine. But I do like, back in the days I used to drink a bit of tea. Did like it. But yeah, I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. So I tend to avoid tea, coffee, Coca-Cola, anything with a high I do drink it sometimes, but I try not to make a habit of it because I'm sensitive to caffeine. Toro says you only hear about Long Island iced teas out here. My favorite tea, though, is Arabic tea. The time that I spent living in the Middle East, their tea is just very, very different. I've had different teas. I've had Turkish tea and, teas from other cultures and whatnot. Chinese tea. But Arabic tea, for me personally, was my favorite. I don't know what they put in there or what kind of tea leaves they use or where it comes from, but the Arabic tea was elite. Do they put saffron in it or something? I don't know what they do to it, but it tastes different. Charles B says it's a true story. It was a huge part of British Army culture, the tea. The box says, too sweet for me, Arabic tea. Yeah, Arabic tea is very sweet. It is sweet. And that's why they serve it in very small cups. Also, the coffee that they have is I like Arabic coffee too. It's very fragrant and flavorful. And they serve it in like shot glasses because it's so intense, that the flavor. Not like an espresso. It's not like that. It's not as dark as an espresso. But it's still very intense coffee flavor. And even the tea, as I say, is often served in little small like shot glasses. And I like it, personally. It's very tasty. But yeah, in small doses, because Truth Channel says, yes, tea with cardamom. Yeah, I'm sure they put cardamom in it. 100% in Arabic tea. They put cardamom and other spices in there and make it taste special. But yeah, in small doses because the sugar content is crazy. In those rich Arab countries, they're not the healthiest. They're not the healthiest, bro. I was shocked when I moved out there at the level of obesity. I've spoken about this so many times, but the level of obesity was crazy in those Gulf states. I've never seen anything like it outside of America, that level of obesity. There you go. Jupiter's String says cardamom, rosebuds, saffron, sugar, and cloves. Yeah, Arabs use stuff like rose water a lot. Cardamom, saffron, all these expensive spices. And a lot of their sweets and desserts and tea and cakes and all that kind of stuff. Very tasty, very aromatic, But yeah, in small doses, unless you want to mess your heart up. I think they also do that. That's another thing they do, the Arabs do, is they put carnation milk in the tea. Yeah, they do that there. They don't put fresh milk in, they put carnation milk. It gives it a different taste. Carnation milk. What's the other one? There's carnation milk, then there's the really thick one that's almost like the color of custard. What's that one called? Carnation milk, and there's the other tin milk, which shouldn't even be called milk. It's so thick. What's it called? No, is it? No, maybe that one is carnation milk, and the other one I was thinking of is evaporated milk. Carnation milk is the extremely thick, sugary one, isn't it? Condensed milk. I think that's the same as evaporated milk. Condensed milk, yeah. Oh, hang on. So condensed milk is the sweet stuff? Okay. Condensed milk is the sweet stuff. And evaporated milk is the other stuff. All right. Yeah, the extremely sweet one. That's one of the sweetest substances known to mankind. Shout out to Clement for the super chat. He says, hello, Hatman, just catching the live. What do you think are the reasons for the bad performances of Jalolov in the pros? Much appreciated for the super chat. The reasons, I think he's got too comfortable winning the way that you win in the amateurs, meaning there's only 3 rounds. Therefore, you don't have to develop what I call a second phase or a third phase of your boxing. Jalolov is a puncher, so he goes out there in the first round or so in the amateurs and throws a few big left hands. If he gets the sense that he's not going to knock the guy out, then he can just keep his distance and he only has to box for 3 rounds and he's won on points. He's gotten far too comfortable doing that. In the pros, you're going to have to actually learn how to break people down. Maybe Jalolov has a stamina problem, or maybe he's just lazy. I don't know what it is. But yeah, overall, I just think he's too accustomed now to the amateur way of doing things and the way that you get success in the amateurs. It doesn't take as much effort as is required in professional boxing. It's very disappointing because he's so talented, but, you know, and you know, some people will have a go at me for being excited about Jalolov turning pro. Oh, look at him, he's performing rubbish. You shouldn't have been excited about him. Really? Well, the vast majority of Olympic gold medalists become world champions. You do realize that, right? In terms of heavyweights anyway. The vast majority of Olympic gold medalists at heavyweight become world champions. That's the rule. The exception is the ones who don't become world champions. So if you look at it logically, it's far more understandable that somebody would be excited about an Olympic gold medalist than not be excited about them. Because statistically, they're probably going to succeed in the pros. Yeah? Which Olympic gold medalists at heavyweight or super heavyweight didn't succeed in the pros? Audley Harrison, Tyrell Biggs. Who else? Over the past 50 years or 60 years. Muhammad Ali, Olympic gold medalist at light heavyweight, heavyweight champion in the pros. Joe Frazier, Olympic gold medalist, heavyweight champion. George Foreman, Olympic gold medalist, heavyweight champion. Leon Spinks, gold medalist, world champion. Yeah, then you had Tyrell Biggs. Well, he had a love affair with crack cocaine, unfortunately for him. So he was the Olympic gold medalist, but he didn't deliver in the pros. And obviously you had some years where they were Soviet fighters and Cuban fighters winning the Olympic gold, and obviously they didn't have professional boxing. But then you move up into 84, not 84, that's when Tyrell Biggs won. You move up into 88, Lennox Lewis, Olympic gold medalist, world champion. 92, I think it was a Cuban that won it in 92 at super heavyweight. 96, Klitschko, Olympic gold medalist, world champion. You get a picture? So normally, success in the amateurs, particularly the Olympics, will result in somebody becoming a world champion when he turned pro. Occasionally you get these guys who are disappointed, like Audley Harrison, who win Olympic gold, but they don't make it in the pro game. With Audley Harrison, to be fair, he wasn't the dominant guy in the super heavyweight division. He was kind of, I'm not taking anything away from him, but he was a little lucky in terms of the draw that he got in the Olympics to get to the final. He was a little fortunate. Whereas a guy like Jalolov, there's nothing fortunate about it. He's a double Olympic gold medalist, world champion. You know, he's been the dominant force in the super heavyweight division for years in the amateurs. Similar with Tyrell Biggs. He wasn't as dominant as Jalolov, but he was very dominant certainly in the American scene in the amateurs. When he came up against certain Cubans and Russians, he had some issues, but Tyrell Biggs was a very, very good amateur. But yeah, he picked up a severe crack problem, and that pretty much wrote him off. I mean, literally after he won Olympic gold, if you've read about Tyrell Biggs, he celebrated by going off into the night, hitting the pipe. That's how wild the 80s was in America. Olympic gold medalists celebrating by hitting the pipe. And all throughout his pro career, man was hitting the pipe. Oliver McCall, same thing. But with Oliver McCall, you know, he didn't have any kind of pedigree in terms of the amateurs. I think he won the Golden Gloves maybe or something in Chicago, but he didn't have that many amateur fights, and he wasn't touted. He wasn't expected to do much as a pro. Tyrell Biggs was expected to do stuff. He was part of the dream team in the 84 Olympics with Holyfield and Meldrick Taylor and, you know, those guys. Still regarded as the best US Olympic boxing team maybe ever. Tyrell Biggs was part of that, and boy, did he disappoint. I've mentioned this many times before, but one of the reasons that Tyrell Biggs was rushed into a heavyweight title fight against Mike Tyson is because his handlers, the Dubois, were struggling to keep him on a straight and narrow. He had this serious crack problem, and they were like, you know what? We're just going to need to cash him out sooner rather than later. Because if we don't get a Mike Tyson payday, he's going to get beat by somebody else, and we'll miss out on it. Because this kid just cannot stay off the pipe. Oh yeah, McCall was heavily on the pipe. That's part of the reason that he had the breakdown in the Lennox Lewis fight. It was some kind of crack-induced psychosis or something. In the Lewis rematch I'm talking about. You know, where he broke down crying and refused to fight back? I was having some kind of like crack cocaine-induced mental breakdown in the ring. Very typical crackhead behavior. You know, Oliver McCall was so heavily on the pipe that his entire bottom row of teeth was missing. In boxing, normally, when a fighter is missing teeth from being punched, it will be one of the front teeth at the top or at the side. Yeah, that's normally the teeth that get knocked out. The lower teeth are usually protected by the upper teeth. Oliver McCall's bottom row of teeth is missing. As far as I'm aware, not from boxing, but because of the pipe. Because the crack smoke rots your teeth. In some of Oliver McCall's, you'll see that he pulls out like false teeth from the bottom. They're all missing. In fact, I think he did a few interviews without his bottom teeth in. And at the time, he was in his 20s. Can you imagine? Man's whole bottom row is gone. And he's in his 20s. Yeah, Mills Lane was one of the most iconic refs in the 90s in particular in boxing. 80s and 90s, but particularly the 90s. He's one of the most iconic. He was so iconic, he even appeared in rap videos. That's how you know you've been embraced by popular culture, when you're in music videos. Back in the 80s, it would have been rock videos. In the late 80s and early and into the 90s, it would have been hip-hop videos, rap videos. Mills Lane was also a judge. So a lot of referees, or most of them, they have day jobs. They don't get paid that much, believe it or not. A lot of these referees, they don't get paid much to officiate fights. It's kind of a weekend job, you know, like a part-time job. And Mills Lane was an actual judge, I think in Nevada. All right, peeps, gonna wrap this one up. Gonna go off and watch some boxing interviews, listen to what Dave Allen's got to say, Herkovich, have a look at the weigh-in and what have you. Also get a bite to eat. I'm starving over here. So yeah, thank each and every one of you for tuning in. It's been a great conversation as always. Special shout out to those who donated via Super Chat. They were Adam Fawkes, Grizz D, James Clifford, GMS Nightmare, Charles B, and Clement. Shout out to Clement. All right, until next time, you guys take care, be good. We'll catch you on the other side. I'm out.